Welcome. If you're here, it's probably because something feels off. You're generating leads, the phone's ringing, marketing's working, but revenue isn't as predictable as it should be. And today, I'm going to show you where most estate planning firms quietly lose tens of thousands of dollars every single month, and more importantly, how to fix it in 30 days. Let's start with a hard truth. Most estate planning firms don't have a lead problem. They have an intake problem. Marketing generates calls, but calls don't consistently turn into consultations, and revenue leaks out before the attorney ever even speaks to someone. And here's the dangerous part. Most leadership teams blame the leads. They say things like, they weren't serious, they were just price shopping, or they weren't qualified. But that's rarely the full story. Let's run some simple math. If you receive 40 inbound calls per month and only 50% book consults, that's 20 lost opportunities. If your average case value is $4,000, that's 80 grand a month just walking away before a consult ever even happens. My friends, that's nearly $500,000 a year lost at the front desk. Not because you're bad at law, but because of structure. The first 90 seconds decides everything. Here's where it breaks down. Your lead sees an ad, or they run a search online, and they call the office. Reception answers. And in the first 90 seconds, the emotional outcome is often decided right then. Did you establish authority? Does the prospect feel safe telling you the truth? Did you establish a sense of urgency and commitment? Do they trust you to help them? Or did you play into the shopping experience? Did you use language that caused hesitation? Most firms don't even realize this moment is a sales conversation. Intake is not administrative, my friends. It's a leadership moment. It's an opportunity for you to establish authority, to find and create some urgency, and uncover the emotional commitment and impact that estate planning can have with these families. Most firms treat it like scheduling. They say things like, how can I help you? Or our fees are something that the attorney will talk with you about. Or our fees range from $2,000 to $10,000. Would you like to schedule a meeting? That's not leadership. That's order taking. And you sound like every other law firm out there, making it very difficult for your prospect to have confidence and decide on choosing you. Let me show you what this looks like in the real world. Bill runs an elder law firm, and they charge $500 for a consultation. He called me because he was frustrated. His firm was getting calls, the marketing was working, but their intake conversion rate was about 10%, which means 90% of the people that were interested prospects that called the office never made it to a consult. Now, here's what's important. It wasn't a marketing issue. It wasn't a pricing issue. It wasn't the fact that they charged $500 for their consults. It was a structure issue inside the conversation, and Bill made a leadership decision. He moved one of his employees named Brooke, a paralegal, into the intake position, and she went through our structure. We met weekly for 4 weeks. We practiced role play. We refined her tone. We tightened the framing statements. We strengthened her pre-qualification questions. There wasn't any hype, no pressure tactics, just structure and repetition, getting practice when there wasn't money on the line. And in 30 days, they went from a 10% conversion rate to a 65% conversion rate. They had the same leads, the same pricing, it's the same law firm, just completely different conversations on the front end. So where do things break down? Well, the first breakdown is reception goes into order taker mode. They say things like, how can I help you? And the prospect says, well, how much do you charge for a will? I'm trying to get pricing. And then the receptionist says, well, the attorney will discuss exact pricing during your consultation. Would you like to go ahead and schedule? There's little to no discovery, no emotional engagement, no authority is provided. And this trains people to shop around. The second breakdown is no emotional engagement. Most intake teams never ask things like, what's so overwhelming you needed to talk to an estate planning firm? Or has something happened recently? Help me understand what's going on. Oh my gosh, who's impacted by this the most? And how does that make you feel? Without emotional clarity, there's no urgency. And without urgency, there's no commitment. Breakdown number 3, Weak appointment framing. The consultation gets positioned almost as optional. Again, without emotional clarity, without urgency, without commitment. And prospects see the consultation as optional. They'll say things like, well, I'll think about it, or we're talking to multiple law firms just kind of shopping around. Why? Because your firm never led the conversation. Breakdown number 4, no qualification. Anyone gets booked. We think we're pre-qualifying by asking questions about assets and existing legal documents, but we're not asking questions to tell us if we're working with somebody that's the actual decision maker, if they're financially ready, if they're emotionally committed. And what this leads to is no-shows for consults or a low close rate with people that do show up. And that leaves the attorney really frustrated. But what leadership typically says is, we need better leads. They don't address the real breakdown. Breakdown number 5 is no reinforcement. We don't uncover any personal reasons to book the meeting, let alone show up on time and be ready to pay. Without uncovering the deeper issues and using that information to prepare for the consult, there's no emotional reminder, there's no authority being reinforced, and there's no positioning the consultation before they even show up. So it becomes really easy for the prospect to cancel or to no-show. What's the compounding cost here? This revenue leakage multiplies. So if we zoom out a little bit, we'll see that there's missed meetings, lower conversion rates, shrinking marketing ROI. We're spending money on marketing, but we're just not seeing the return. And then revenue is unpredictable, and that leads to attorney burnout. And then again, leadership blames the market, but the leak is happening before the attorney ever even walks into the room. Let's go through one more case study. Laura runs a firm that has estate planning and elder law. She charges $450 for consults. In January, they had 70 leads, but only 7 bookings. Again, around 10% from lead to consult. That means 63 people called and then disappeared. Not because they weren't qualified, because no one was leading the conversation. They started training in February. 50 leads came in, but this time 40 got booked. From 7 to 40. And here's what Laura said afterward. The biggest difference wasn't just the number of bookings. The people who came in were ready. That means they were pre-qualified. They were committed. They were clear about the process and what was expected of them during the consult. Her consultation stopped feeling like she was presenting estate planning 101 on repeat. They started feeling like real connections. That's a result of leadership at the intake process. To be clear, this isn't a receptionist problem. Your staff is not the issue. The lack of structure is. Remember, most receptionists were never trained in sales, were never coached, were never given a framework, and have never practiced in role play. Yet they're expected to be the front-facing filter for all of your firm's revenue. That's a leadership system gap, my friends. So what do high-performing firms do? High-performing firms treat intake like a sales process. They use repeatable structure. They go through emotional discovery. They position themselves as the authority. They qualify through great questions. They get the prospect's commitment, and they have structured confirmation. They build confidence through practice and repetition, not just relying on charisma or their years of experience. Let's talk about the 3-level intake framework. Remember, there's 3 levels to intake. The first is the surface need. A great question would be, what's weighing on you so much you needed to talk with an estate planning firm? Or what are your biggest concerns that you have about your estate plan? Level 2 is the personal impact. So who's impacted by your decisions the most? Or what's the most concerning part for you, and how does that make you feel? And level 3 is the commitment. If we can help solve this, are you ready to take care of it now? Or this sounds important to you. Are you committed to seeing it through? We have to ask these questions. It helps the prospect solidify in their own mind, in their own heart, the importance of seeing this through and the need for their commitment as part of the outcome. The appointment shift, going from scheduling into leadership. Instead of saying things, would you like to schedule now? Say, our consultations are designed to give you clarity and a plan. If we can help, we'll show you exactly how. Then ask, is there anyone else who should be part of that conversation? This sets authority. It sets standards. It shows leadership. Now, here's why most firms can't fix this on their own. Because reading about sales doesn't build a sales culture. Guys, this is a sales skill, and skill requires practice, correction, role play, accountability, especially for your intake staff. Structure must be installed intentionally. So, what changes when intake improves? When you have the same leads, but you expect a different outcome. Guys, when you make these adjustments to your intake, more consultations get set, you have a higher show rate, you build a stronger emotional commitment with your prospects, which in turn leads to a higher close rate, and that leads to more predictable revenue. Remember, Bill didn't need more leads. Laura didn't need better marketing. They needed structure inside the very first call. This is why I created the Sales Foundry and the Intake Sales Accelerator. It's a 4-week firm-specific sales reset. It's not theory, it's not generic scripts, it's not just motivational fluff. This is implementation inside of your firm. Attorneys and the intake team should attend together because a strong sales culture is installed intentionally. So what happens during these 4 weeks? Well, we start off by taking an audit of your current intake process and your script. What are you saying during these initial calls with prospects? We address the meeting structure and how do you create the doctor framework so people tell you the truth and have anticipation about getting their problem solved or becoming healed. Then we work on qualifying questions, setting standards, and how to make an offer with discipline. By the time we wrap up, we're evaluating your new sales culture, your processes, and evaluating the performance you had over those few weeks. Every week, we're going to debrief prospects, prepare for meetings that you have coming up, and practice through role play. This brings real correction and real improvement. If you're generating leads but losing momentum on the first call, you don't have a marketing problem. You have a structure problem, and structure can be rebuilt in about 30 days. If you want to address your intake process to help you set more consultations, increase the show rate, improve your close rate, and create a predictable revenue stream, then go ahead and apply for Sales Accelerator. We'll evaluate the fit, we'll talk together. We don't work with everyone, but if your firm is ready for structure, this is how we install it. My friends, selling is serving. Leadership is greater than persuasion. Structure is more powerful than charisma. Confidence is gained through practice and repetition. Remember, the first phone call is not administrative. It's the beginning of trust. Go ahead and book your meeting. Talk with me about your sales process. I'm happy to guide you through. Thanks for being here.